Hi there, my name is BJ. The reason that I'm making this video is because I'm wanting to warn people about Mercari and Mercari scams. Now this video is mainly going to focus on selling on Mercari and the dangers doing it. So I've been on the Mercari selling app for about a year now. I've completed over 500 transactions, and what I sell is collectibles and things of that nature, superheroes, comic books, so on and so forth. So the thing I wanted to focus on, though, is scams on Mercari. A lot of people don't realize this. They jump on Mercari, they put up a couple items, list them, make some sales, make a little money, and then they get hooked. And then they try selling all kinds of stuff. But my warning is, if you're going to be a seller on Mercari, there's a few things you need to know. First of all, when you sell something on Mercari and you take really good care of it and you package it really well and you're super friendly with the customer, that does not mean you're going to get a positive rating, and it doesn't technically mean that you've made the sale. So with Mercari, the way things work is you make a sale and then you ship the item, and then when the customer receives the item, what happens is they get 3 days, 72 hours, to rate you, to give you a rating out of 5 stars and leave a comment about how they felt about that transaction. Now, the reason they have that 72 hours is because they need time, apparently, to examine the item and see if it is what they indeed bought. Now, there's a lot of sellers out there who are very dishonest and sell fake items and sell things that really aren't what they're advertised to be. Now, I'm going to do another video on being a seller on Mercari and how you have to be careful. But this one's, or not being a seller, but being a buyer. I'm focusing mainly on sellers on this video, but I will do another video about how you need to avoid the dangers of buying on Mercari. So anyways, so they get 72 hours. So in that 72 hours, they have a choice of choosing to return the item. Now, the Mercari customer service team, in order to approve a return, all they require is a picture of the item and a picture what the item was advertised as. So if you post a picture of, let's say, a candle, and the candle has never been burned or used or anything, and then you ship the candle, they get the candle, they light the candle, and they smell the scent, and they don't like how it smells, even though in your description you said smells like cinnamon, and they go, oh, well, I thought it was a different cinnamon or something silly like that. What they can do is actually light the candle, burn it, make it to where it's not new anymore, and then they can take a picture of the burnt candle, send it to Mercari customer service, and Mercari will automatically approve the return. Now, the Mercari customer service says that they have a team that reviews the before and after pictures, the picture of what the seller took and the picture of what the buyer took. But really, there is no case where Mercari does not approve a return. A lot of people believe that they're actually investigating it and looking at it and contacting people. No, they don't contact you. They don't do any kind of investigation. They go, oh, well, this candle was sold as a new item, but actually it's been burned. Now, then it becomes a case of the buyer's word against the seller's word. And you might think, hey, I've been a seller on Mercari for a long time. I've sold over 1,000 items. And this buyer has only used Mercari for a month, and they have maybe 2 stars or 2 transactions completed. Mercari doesn't care if you're a long-time customer. Mercari doesn't care if you have 10,000 5-star reviews. Mercari doesn't care if you have made them $50,000. They just don't care. If a customer, a buyer, wants to return an item, Mercari will say they're taking 24 hours to review it and then just approve it. Now you might be asking, how do I know this? I know this because, as I said, I'm a long-time seller on Mercari. Not only a seller, but a buyer on the app as well. And so I've had to return items. And in the process, and waiting to get the approval returned, or the return approved, they automatically approve the return. Now, I recently had a situation where they were in the process of reviewing a return, and I messaged into customer service and said, hey, I have all the proof that you need to prove that this item was in pristine condition before it was shipped. And I gave it to the customer service, and the customer service ignored it. They just totally blew me off. They didn't want to hear about it. They said, we are reviewing this case. We'll let you know if the return is approved. And I said, well, I'm trying to give you evidence so you can examine the case and have all the information that you need. But they didn't want the information. They weren't looking for the information. And they didn't, quite frankly, care that I had the information that I wanted to share with them. And so I guess a big part of this is not only Mercari scammers, but Mercari customer service. If you're looking for an app that has amazing customer service, Mercari's not the way to go. If you want to buy something where you can call somebody and they will help you through the process and be friendly, caring, nice, and sympathetic, Mercari is not the website for you. Do not sell on Mercari if you expect there to be some or any resemblance of customer service. They, quite frankly, pretend like they care to save face, but they don't care at all. They have no worry about their sellers or their buyers. Now, when I gave them all the information, they approved the return anyways. So I sent an item that was brand new. The buyer got it. I assume they broke it when they took it out of the package, and seeing how it got broke, they just took a picture of the broken item, and then they sent it into Mercari. Mercari approved it, and now the item is being sent back to me. So now, not only do I not have the funds that I need for that purchase, but now I'm getting back a broken item, which I can't resell because who wants the broken item? Obviously, this buyer didn't want it broken. No other buyer's going to want it broken. Now, again, let me focus on the way that I shipped it. I shipped this item in its box new, bubble wrapped, with a bubble wrap envelope in a box. So this item was essentially floating in air. The only way the item could have been broken or busted is if the U.S. Postal Office ran over it with a truck. And even then, I don't know that the item would have been damaged because of how much bubble wrapping that I used. And I took pictures before I sent the item because I always do that with my sales to make sure that if they say, hey, this item has a scratch on it, I can look at my photos, and if the item did have a scratch that I didn't see, then what I do is I say, okay, and I refund them their money and let them keep the item. Because I know when I buy things and I expect them to be in a great condition and they're not only do I want my money back, but I want something for the waste of my time. And so I've had multiple people who have found flaws with an item I'm selling, and I went back to those pictures and I said, you know what? There was that minor flaw, and I didn't advertise it like that. So now I'm going to give you your money back, and I'm also going to let you keep the item. Which to me is basic customer service. That's what you should do if you're selling something to someone and selling it as a certain condition. If you're selling like new, it needs to be like new. If you're selling as good, it needs to be good. But at the same time, you also have to keep in mind that when you're selling something, you are showing pictures of the item. And so if they see the item and you're selling it, and it doesn't have, let's say it's a poster, but it has a rip in the corner, and you take a picture of that rip in the corner, then they bought a poster that had a rip in the corner. And so they shouldn't get a return because it had a rip in the corner. And this has happened on Mercari. I communicate with other sellers, and what they tell me is, hey, so I was selling this item, I'll use an example, a speaker that the volume down button didn't work. I sold it as that. The buyer got it, and they just didn't see the item description, and now they want to return it, and Mercari approved the return. Even though the seller was doing everything that they were supposed to, the buyer the buyer gets the last word no matter what. So it's a your word versus their word. Their word, the buyer's word, will always be taken. And unfortunately, you run into that somewhat on eBay or other selling sites, but Mercari is the worst of them all. Mercari is the absolute bottom of the food chain. And so I'm warning everybody out there, if you want to sell on Mercari, know that anytime a customer receives an item and they change their mind, they can just send it back. And anytime that you want to work with the customer service from Mercari, they're going to give you pre-recorded messages. They're not going to talk to you like a human being. They're not going to talk to you as if you're someone struggling with a difficulty. They're going to talk to you like you're a robot. And when you try to reach out, at one time I spoke to 3 different customer service reps from Mercari. I spoke to someone from Facebook, I spoke to someone from their help center app, and I spoke to someone on the phone. And all 3 instances, I essentially got told, well, that's too bad for you. And like I said before, if you are a longtime patron, again, they don't care. Mercari does not care about its customers. It doesn't care about its sellers. It doesn't care about its buyers. It has a list of rules, and I know it's hard, but I suggest you read those rules because there's a lot of fine print in there that says, hey, we can totally screw you over, and there's nothing you can do about it. And the only thing that you really can do about it is warn others. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm warning others. I was telling everybody I knew, hey, get on Mercari. It's a fantastic app. It's a wonderful app. It's a great way to get rid of items you no longer need. It's a great way to find items that you want. And I'm just saying that it is very dangerous. You go on Mercari, you're walking in a minefield. Yeah, you may make it the first 50 feet without any issues or problems, but once you step on that mine, it's going to ruin the whole experience for you. And you're going to think to yourself, dang it, why did I do this? I knew that this was a risk and I took it anyways, I shouldn't have. There are lots of other apps where you can sell your stuff. So do not sell on Mercari. Please, do not do it. And as a seller on Mercari, you'd think, well, isn't that going against him? Doesn't he want as many people on Mercari as possible to sell his stuff? No, that's not the case. If somebody wants to buy my items, then they can buy it from one of the other outlets that I'm using, one of the other apps that I'm using. eBay is a good example. eBay is actually really focused on protecting its sellers. If I had any complaints about eBay, is they aren't very sympathetic to their buyers. They have very little concern for their buyers. But eBay really does take very good care of its sellers. So if you're going to sell something, sell on eBay. And that way you'll get outstanding customer service. If you want to go sell on Mercari and take that chance, then I'm warning you, you're going to get some really bad experiences. And when it happens, you're going to say, oh, I should have gone on a different app. And so I'm going to wrap this video up. I know I've been talking for a while, but I just want to say thank you to everyone who watched. If you want to like the video, you can like the video. I'm not real worried about likes or subscriptions or anything like that. All I care is about warning people about the dangers of Mercari and how there are so many buyers that are scammers that will take advantage of you. And just one last point, if you sell something on Mercari, let's say I sell a toy dinosaur, then I can ship that toy dinosaur, they can get the toy dinosaur, return it, because like I said, Mercari will approve every return that is asked, and then they can return something different to me. And when that happens, you get sent to what Mercari calls the Escalation team. And the Escalation team, essentially what they do is they say, okay, send us a picture. And so you send them a picture and they can say, oh, well, we don't have enough evidence, and essentially you get robbed again. There really is no protection. There really is no customer service. There really is no sympathy or care for the people on the app. The app managers and the customer service team really have no care for the people on their app. They're just out to make their 10% on every sell. And you would think, well, if they're making 10% of every sell that you make, isn't it kind of their responsibility to not only protect the buyers but protect the sellers as well? And the answer is no. They don't have any sympathy. I maybe talked to one person on the phone, and when I talked to him on the phone, they said, "I'm sorry that this is happening to you." And that was the most sympathy I ever got. But then it was followed up by, "Oh, well, that's too bad." And just one more thing, when you sell something, you have to make sure when you drop it off at the post office that the post office scans it there at the post office. If you put it in a blue bin or a drop box or just leave it on the counter, a lot of post offices will tell you, oh, if it's pre-labeled, you can leave it on the counter. If you do that, then the post office will take it. They won't scan it for at least 24 hours, and a lot of times they don't scan it. And then you try to track the item, and the post office says they never received the item. And you're like, no, I dropped it off there. Mercari will say, well, do you have absolute proof that you dropped it off at the post office? And the only way that you can have absolute proof is if you make them scan it when you go to the post office or FedEx or whatever else you're doing. Whatever shipping service you're using, make sure that the shipping service scans the item as soon as you drop it off. Because if you put it in a bin or if you leave it on the counter, they'll get the item and they can lose it. And then when you ask Mercari, because Mercari says that its shipping is insured, and so that's why they encourage you to go through theirs, the shipping is not insured. They will not help you with the post office. They will not help you with the lost package. They will not reimburse you. They will essentially, like I said before, just leave you high and dry. They will say, oh, well, that's the post office's problem. And then you'll call the post office, and the post office will say, well, you need to talk to the customer service from the app in which you're using. And I've been through this about 7 times. And 7 different times, I just refunded the buyer, and I never found out if they got the package or not. And so then I started saying, okay, every time I ship an item, I'm going to make sure to scan it. Because a lot of people will buy an item, and then there are times, even when you do have them scan it, where it'll be confirmed that it was delivered, and then they'll say, oh, I never got the package. And you're like, what? No, it was a confirmed delivery. And then Mercari tells the buyer, because let's say you're the customer and you get the item, and you're supposed to get the item, and it never shows up, then you go to Mercari, and Mercari says, well, go ask your neighbors if they got the item. And if they don't, then go to the post office. Mercari's not going to help the buyer. And as far as the seller, Mercari is not going to help the seller either. The seller's like, hey, it was confirmed delivery. What's the problem? I should be getting my funds released. And to focus on that, just so you know, on Mercari, you don't get your money until the buyer rates you. So unless you rate the buyer, your seller never gets their money. And one other thing as far as sellers, just so you know, if you want to remove your money off of a Mercari into your bank account, it's not free. They charge you for that. It's like an ATM fee. Anytime you want access to your money that you earned and they already got their 10%, they're going to want more of your money. So they're going to say, oh, now you have to pay us a fee for transferring your money to your bank account. And so, again, just a warning to all sellers. There are a few other things that I can't think of off the top of my head to be aware of, but if I think of them, I'll make sure to make a follow-up video. And like I said, I really hope this helps you out. And again, if you're wanting to sell things online, go to eBay. eBay will protect you as a seller. eBay charges more, but the reason they charge more is because they actually protect you, and they have a customer service team who really cares and will take care of you. So, thank you for listening. If you made it to the end of this video, I know I rambled on for a while. I really appreciate it. If you have any comments that you want to share with me, I'd love to talk to you about it. If you have any experiences that you want to say, hey, this is what happened to me, or share it with other people, please go ahead. So, let me thank you again, and I'll see you in the next video. Alright.